What's up, everybody? We are live. That's right. I'll write it. We'll do it live here on the channel and also on Facebook. We're back to real sports, not WWE talk here, as everybody saw on the channel on Saturday. And we're going to be jumping into the Ohio State Buckeyes, the state of college football, too, really, the playoff stuff. I had to get my guy, Jay Stevens from Locked On Buckeyes, also sports content specialist over at the Kokomo Post. And I put a question mark by this, the Jay Stevens podcast, just, throwing that out there. But Jay, appreciate you coming on the show to talk all things Buckeyes.
Phillip, I'm glad to be back. A question mark is appropriate. That is a show that is not dead, but it's one that has been on a little break, a long break. But I'm glad to be back here with you. College football is what we love. We love our teams, and I'm looking forward to the show.
So, do I need to add a Buckeyes helmet back there? I mean, it's pretty much all Southeastern teams except for those two Green Bay Packer helmets back there. But
I think so. I think an Ohio State helmet would be fitting. It would be appropriate. Ohio State would beat every team in the SEC right now. Well, I can't say that about next year's team. Last year's team would have beat every team in the SEC. So I think it would be appropriate to put an Ohio State helmet up there. I mean, they just won the national championship.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know what's funny about them? Every time college football expands their postseason, they win the national championship.
Yeah, they do. So what is it? In a couple of years? Well, 2026 expected to expand again. You can almost like pencil in Ohio State to win that one because if you're expanding, the Buckeyes are going to win that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I brought that up. I always have Bill Bender on after the national championship game. And I brought that up to him. And I said, yeah, every time they expand this thing, Ohio State wins the national championship. So we're getting that expansion in very, very soon. And for anybody watching live, either on YouTube or on Facebook, drop a comment, drop a question. We may get to it at the end of the show. That's why we do it live, so we can get some feedback from anybody that may be checking it out. So I wanted to look back a little bit at last year, winning the national title. And I'll admit this, I will throw it out there for your audience if they're checking this show out. I picked Tennessee to beat Ohio State in the first round just because it just felt like the way the season ended, regular season Ohio State going in there, there was not a lot of momentum for Ohio State, but they had that back against the wall, us versus everybody else mentality going into it. And Ryan Day had a lot of pressure. I mean, that was losing all those games to Michigan. I hate to bring it up. And then, again, going into that pressure. And Will Howard had not played great at times going into it, but he turned it around too as well. Just when you look back at that, just the switch that was flipped with that Ohio State team versus how they ended the regular season going into that championship run, just kind of like living in, put yourself back in that moment. Just what was it like?
It was weird, man. And you talk about that Michigan loss, and my voice automatically changes because that was a tough loss. Because for the first time since 2019, Ohio State clearly had the better team. Even if you take away the cheating scandals and them cheating and sign stealing and all that kind of stuff that the Wolverines did for a few years, it was pretty clear that even in those years that those teams are really, 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 really close in how they played. Last year's team should have blown Michigan out the water. Should have been close. I know the physicality Michigan brings on the front seven and how their offensive line can really handle their own. I get all of that. Ohio State was head and shoulders better than Michigan on most days. But for some reason that weekend, Thanksgiving weekend in 2024, Ryan Day and those boys didn't get it done. The defense did everything they could, almost everything they could, to win the game. But when it came down to it, they were on the field a lot. The offense couldn't sustain drives. Will Howard got popped, and I honestly think he should have stayed in the game. I think he had like a mild concussion. That was enough of a concussion to keep him out. That was not spoken about or even made like actual news. But I personally think with the way he was playing, he had a concussion. But you talk about the Tennessee game, and I was on the fence about that game because I had no idea what to expect. I went back and forth about Tennessee winning or Ohio State winning. And it wasn't because I thought Tennessee was truly the better team. I didn't know what Ohio State team was going to show up. But I realized it was a Michigan problem, not a Tennessee problem. They went in that game, and flip the switch. It was really weird to see Ohio State open up the playbook, throw deep balls, the defense playing fast and free. And in my head, I'm thinking, Phillip, why do you wait till the 13th game of the year to play like this when you could have
Yeah.
done this against everybody? You wouldn't have had a loss to Oregon in the 6th game of the season. You wouldn't have lost to Michigan. You would have snapped that losing streak. But all of a sudden, when it's win or go home, you decide, oh, we're going to do everything we can to blow this game wide open as quickly as we can. It was frustrating. But as frustrating as it was nice to see Ohio State bounce back in a big way. They beat Oregon. They beat, I forget who they beat the game after that. Oh, Texas, sorry. Beat Texas, and then they beat Notre Dame. But that flip being switch was fun. But as I look back now, I am still wondering, and it was kind of the same way after the fact, why didn't Ryan Day wait until the 13th game of the year when it's either you win in front of your home fans, in front of the first home Buckeye game in December in school history? Why did he do that then? If you win, great. You go on to play in the Rose Bowl against Oregon, trying to beat a team that beat you earlier in the year. If you lose, you go home and you're on the hot seat, like a very hot seat, because you're not worse than Tennessee. You're clearly a lot better than Tennessee. But if you lose to Oregon, okay, we understand that. You're not going to win every game. If you lose to Michigan and then lose to Tennessee after that, people are wondering if you're the right man for the job. But clearly right now he has done enough to not only win his boss over. I believe Ryan Day's the right man for the job. I still got questions about him. He's not a perfect coach, but I think Ryan Day's the right man for the job right now.
I just had wondered, we're this whole rewind thing we're doing here. Had he lost to Tennessee, would he have lost his job?
No, he wouldn't have. It's weird. The AD already said Ryan Day was not going to lose his job before, regardless of the outcome. It was either the Michigan game or the Tennessee game. One of the two, he's like, oh, he's not going to lose his job. So, no, he was going to keep his job. The question I have for why he may have lost his job, one, AD say things all the time, and he may say, oh, you're staying, but if you lose a game in embarrassing fashion in front of your home fans, the Tennessee game I'm speaking about, after losing to Michigan, he may say, hey, yeah, you're not the guy. I know I just got here. I know that we have a good relationship so far, but these results aren't good enough. So, I don't think he would have, but I do think there would be some serious questions about why Ryan Day's teams, for some reason, fall in big games. Ryan Day sometimes isn't a good big game coach. He's not, and some coaches aren't. Me, big high school football guy, and there was a guy down in Indianapolis, not saying names, that at times wasn't a big time Friday night football coach, and it was a game I could think about right now, against a school from southern Indianapolis on the south side of Indy that they played in the regional, and next thing you know, that other team just blew this team out. Well, this coach had already won a state championship. He'd already done some really good things, but for some reason in this game against that team, he couldn't get it done. And some of his former players, my brother being one of them, saying, yeah, he's just not a big game coach. Well, there were times that Ryan Day was not a big game coach at all. At all. He was not. And so for Ryan Day to not be a big game coach, I think that is what happens sometimes. But no, I think he would have kept his job. But Phillip, you know me very well. I would have had some choice words for Ryan Day if he ended up losing that game to Tennessee after getting embarrassed by Michigan.
Yeah, I'll throw one. You know who I was thinking about when you talking about basketball can't win a big game but has a championship? Doc Rivers.
Good old Doc. Oh my gosh. You know the man that always has a hoarse voice. Always. It doesn't matter what's going on, his voice is gone.
Yeah, I've gone back and I've actually watched clips like when he first was broadcasting before he became like the Magic head coach and everything. Voice completely different. I mean, I know as we get older, our voice changes a little bit.
Yeah,
but he sounds nothing. And it was like I remember him being a really good, analyst on games. But then when he came back, last year with ABC and when he was with Doris Burke and Mike Breen, I was like, this is not the same voice I remember hearing analyze these games. So. Anyways, you said coach like that. We have a comment, Jay. I don't know if you're going to like this one or not.
I know him. That's my boss. That's the one that I do stuff for the Kokomo Post. A big Michigan fan. He just actually got a private tour with him and his family of the Big House. And I wouldn't expect anything different from Drew Larison Yeah, he got that one in pretty early in the show.
Yeah, I had to, we bring up Michigan. So we'll look at 2025 coming up this year. Of course, Ohio State is going to be the favorite in the Big Ten. There's some good teams, but they very well, they very much should be the favorite there. So, but I got some questions about the coordinators. So, Chip Kelly gone. He's gone to the Raiders, and then Jim Knowles has gone to Penn State. I know that is going to eat at people just because he's still in the Big Ten and that whole situation. All right, so I wanted to ask you, of those two, which is the bigger coordinator loss for Ohio State?
Easily Jim Knowles. No. I'm not doing that. I'm going to change it for a specific reason. I think Chip Kelly's a bigger loss because Ryan Day replaced Jim Knowles with Matt Patricia. So you're getting a guy in that comes in from the NFL. I think he was actually not coaching last year, but he has numerous Super Bowl rings in New England, coached, was former defensive coordinator for the Patriots, head coach for the Lions too. But when he was in New England, he was calling defensive plays before he was a defensive coordinator. And that's one of Bill Belichick's things to kind of help guys get some more experience without being in the spotlight. I think Patricia replacing Knowles is actually an upgrade. As weird as that may sound for a guy in Patricia that hasn't been in college football since 2003, and that was when he was with Syracuse. On offense, losing Chip Kelly is huge. But you're also bringing in a guy, promoting a guy in Brian Hartline that's never coached, never called plays. Excuse me, my words are not working right. So you have a guy that's been there for 7 or 8 or 9 years as an assistant coach, one of the best recruiting assistant coaches in the country, one of the best developers of talent for his specific room, a guy that consistently has guys in his room getting drafted in the first round. So he has all of that going for him with the receivers. I think as an offensive coordinator that Hartline is going to be, I think he'll be fine coordinating the offense. The first game he's calling plays is against Texas, week 1 in the shoe. That's not just a regular old game. And so if you're trying to do something for the very first time, you want a preseason game here or a cupcake there. You don't get that. And so I'm actually kind of worried about Brian Hartline calling plays, not just week 1, but throughout the season, because there is a flow you get as a play caller. There is a comfort you get with your own guys. You're working with a new starting quarterback. So that's another learning curve. I think losing Chip Kelly is bigger. Losing Jim Knowles is big, but losing Chip Kelly is bigger because he's being replaced by a guy that's never called plays. And I don't know if Ryan Day is going to be a coach that quickly shortens a leash and says, okay, you can coordinate the offense. You can do all those things with those guys. I'm calling plays. We've seen Urban Meyer do it. In the NBA, you saw Pat Riley literally leave the front office to come down and coach. They're on the sidelines and actually won the championship that year when he did it with the Heat. So I personally, it's weird losing Chip Kelly. I didn't think Chip Kelly would come to Ohio State. I knew he wouldn't be there very long. I'm not mad about him for tripling his salary from going from being the OC for Ohio State to being the OC for the Raiders. I understand it. But man, I'm nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am nervous about Brian Hartline calling plays, especially because the first time he's doing it, it's against the Longhorns, who desperately want revenge because the Buckeyes ended their season last year.
So you answered my next question because it was going to be which one you're more concerned about going the new ones, Brian Hartline or Matt Patricia. So you really just answered that question for me.
I read your mind. I'm pretty good at that sometimes. I'm being sarcastic when I say that.
We're right in there. We are feeling the love for Jay Stevens here with our next comment here on the show. Jay Stevens has the best beard I've ever seen.
Phillip, that is my wife. She is a beautiful woman, and tomorrow is our 2nd anniversary. And so I am not surprised. She's loved my beard since the day we met. But for her to be tapping into the show, I appreciate it. And happy early anniversary. I'm going to say it to everybody live right now. We have some plans set for tomorrow and how we're going to celebrate the anniversary. A little different doing that when you have a little one running around the house. But yeah, that's my wife. She's a big fan of the beard.
And I appreciate her checking out the show. I appreciate that part of it.
Yeah.
Quarterback. So obviously Will Howard, now the backup to Aaron Rodgers and with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a different topic for a different show at a very, very different time. Especially from yours truly knowing, hey, if anybody watching on YouTube, if they can't guess I'm a Packers fan with the two Packers helmets back there, the yellow one and the white one, no, those are not Georgia helmets. Those are Green Bay. Jay, I get that. So I get that sometimes when I have anything with Green Bay said Georgia. I said no. The Green Bay Packers are the originators of the G. So whatever podcast I do, I'm gonna steal a line from a podcast, but we carry the G here on the Phillip Jordan Sports channel in any show I do. But anyways, Julian Sayin. Alabama fans are familiar with this guy. This is one of their guys that they had on the roster, and he heads to Ohio State. What have you heard? What have you seen with Julian Sayin as he appears to take over at quarterback?
So it's weird because what you're hearing from inside the practice facility, especially during spring practice, was that this is a pretty close quarterback battle between Lincoln Keen-Holtz, who's the older quarterback, and Julian Sayin, who is the younger quarterback, but he's more talented. This is the first time that Keen-Holtz has been able to focus on football. He was a three-sport athlete in high school, played football, basketball, baseball, was all-state in multiple sports. And so when you're doing all of that stuff in high school, which I'm a big advocate of, if you're a high school athlete right now watching us or maybe listening to it on the audio version of this show, play multiple sports. I am not a fan of specializing in something at all. I am not. I don't care. Your parents may not like it. That's fine. I am a big fan of people going out there and playing as many things as they can. Once you get into high school, you got different seasons. So if you want to run track and play baseball, you might have to pick one, but be a guy that plays multiple sports. That was Lincoln Keen-Holtz. Him being able to focus solely on football, he's been able to bulk up and add the necessary muscle. He's been able to figure out how to properly read a defense. He has been able to do a lot of things that Sayin was doing in high school because he was focusing on the football. Mm-hmm. I think Sayin's going to be the starting quarterback. He is still 6 foot, maybe 6'1", a little bit on the shorter side, a little bit on the lighter side too. I think he'll be fine. I don't know what to expect if he wins a job and he is a starting quarterback against Texas. If it's Lincoln Keen-Holtz, I have a better handle about what to expect, but I still don't know how good of a thrower he's going to be. If Keen-Holtz is the starting quarterback, I'm going to get more of a mobile quarterback to be able to roll him out to the right, to the left, and be more mobile, not keep him in the pocket. I think Sam's going to be more of your traditional pocket passer. Could roll out a little bit, but he'll be more Stroud. Not saying he's going to be C.J. Stroud, but he'd be more of a quarterback that plays in that C.J. Stroud style. It'd be great if he was a C.J. Stroud quarterback over the next couple of years. Alabama fans will hate it, but that's okay. Ohio State just won the national championship.
Oh, yeah. We do not want Alabama fans getting upset. I got to watch what I say since I do cover both teams in the state.
You do.
So
you are a brave man. You're very brave.
I am bringing the state together, Jay. I am going to be the guy that brings the two fan bases together. That is what my role is in this.
And how about we take that rivalry back to was it Legion Field there in Birmingham?
Don't play at Legion Field. No. Go Protective where the Stallions play now. Do not go anywhere near Legion Field. No.
Why?
I might get some trouble with. Well, I'm independent now, so I can say what I want. That field looks like it could fall apart at any moment. It is horrible. There's a reason why the Birmingham Stallions do not play at Legion Field. And look, again, I maybe put my foot in my mouth here. It's not necessarily in the best part of Birmingham either. There is a reason why, in my opinion, in 2019 with the Alliance of American Football, why the Birmingham Iron never played a night game. I'm just going to say that.
Ooh.
Now, Protective Stadium is awesome. I've went 3 straight years to Birmingham Stallion games. That is a great stadium. UAB plays there. I think some high schools play at Legion, but play in Birmingham, that would be cool. I don't think they'll ever do it again. You know why they don't play in Birmingham, right? Auburn people feel like that was just when they were doing it at the time. Alabama was playing a couple home games a year at Legion Field. So Auburn just felt like every year it was an away game. Yeah. So when in 89 is when they played the first Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium, Alabama continued to play their home game in Birmingham until the early 2000s. So that was the big thing there. Pat Dye was big. It's an Alabama home game because they play home games here already. So, and Birmingham is probably, if you the state is more percentage wise Alabama versus Auburn. Get that. But the Birmingham area in particular is a big Alabama area too. So it was not a good spot for Auburn in that one. But yeah, no, I'm bringing the state together. But then I'll probably just man. Well, I've been saying I want to be more controversial on the podcast, so we decided to come back from a 3-week hiatus, and boom, here we are. If you have something to say to me, you can hit me up, P Jordan NCC. I'll be glad to talk to you. So back on Ohio State, just kind of looking at the team, and with quarterback, Julian's saying you're going to have the receivers to throw to. Jeremiah Smith, the best receiver in college football. Down here it's all about Ryan Williams and all that. And Auburn's got a good one in Cam Coleman. But I think a lot of people in the South weren't really paying attention most of the year to Jeremiah Smith. I know you knew how good he was and how good he is. You got Cornell Tate. They got some other players coming in. I look at this Ohio State offense, running back, Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, both gone. You have James Peoples coming. He's back with the team. How are you feeling about the running back room for Ohio State?
Pretty good, because you get a transfer and C.J. Donaldson from West Virginia. You have Peoples, like you've mentioned. You got a guy that's a true freshman in Bo Jackson. I believe his real name is Lamar Jackson. I don't know where.
Whoa! You were talking to an Auburn, and you said Bo Jackson.
His nickname is Bo.
He cannot have that name, Jay. He cannot have it. He cannot have it. I will not stand for this.
I don't believe it's because he's a Bo Jackson fan. I don't know where the nickname came from, but you have Bo Jackson, who's a true freshman, who a lot of the older guys that have been there for 3 or 4 or 5 years are saying, yeah, Bo is like that. He's a real one. And so I think when you're going running back by committee, Peoples or Donaldson can start. Doesn't really matter to me who the starter is. I think early on, you should have the more experienced guys start. Donaldson played 3 years at West Virginia. He's a 2,000-plus yard rusher for his collegiate career. I'd rather have him start and then have Peoples be the backup. But some people are saying that Peoples is picking up steam, that he might start this year. To me, I want the experience, especially against Texas. I don't want a second-year guy that's getting his first start, getting his first time getting extended touches and extended snaps. All of a sudden, 3rd and 8 on your own 38, and you got to get this, or they might find a way to flip to take a big return back. And all of a sudden, 3rd and 8, and they're blitzing 2 guys. One of them is right where you need to be. One of them's on the backside. You got to protect the backside. Next thing you know, it's a sack in the backfield because you either took the wrong guy and left the quarterback's backside open, or you ended up whiffing on both, getting cold feet. I don't like guys that are inexperienced being in the backfield, because a lot of times you're not good at pass pro. It's not a knock on you. It took Travion Henderson 4 years to figure out how to be a good pass blocking running back, and he's an elite one. It's not easy at all. So I think they're going to be fine. They had a guy that went to the portal in Sam Williams-Dixon after his freshman year because he got some bad advice from people in his camp, in his circle, realized that the best spot for him was to be at Ohio State, so he withdrew his name from the portal, came back to Ohio State. I don't think he's going to play them much this year. He's at best the 4th running back in the depth chart. It wouldn't shock me if there was another true freshman in Turbo Rogers, another guy Alabama fans know about because he ended up flipping from Alabama to Ohio State right around the early signing day. I think that the running backs will be James Peoples, C.J. Donaldson, and then Bo Jackson, and you'll be running back by committee. Peoples will start some. Donaldson will start the other. Bo Jackson's your 3rd back, and I'm comfortable with that. If none of these guys had experience, I'd be worried because pass blocking as a running back is it's needed and it's tough. It's very, very tough. Opposing defensive coordinators will see your inexperience and say, oh, we can blitz you all night. To take a line from Remember the Titans. You blitz all night, and so they may do that. And if they do that, you're going to get embarrassed. You're going to get pulled. You're going to be on the sidelines because you don't know how to pass block. You only learn by experience. But this ain't the game, a Texas game. They really put a guy out there that's not experienced.
Yeah, we're going to touch on that here in a few minutes too. Now,
Mhm.
defensively, you got Sonny Styles coming back, terrific linebacker. I think he's also when he got Ohio State and Big Ten, people know who he is. But I think nationally, especially again, like where I'm at down in the Southeast, maybe not as familiar. Obviously, Caleb Downs is a name people down here know of because his time in Alabama. Up front though, and I'm not going to. Last time I had you on, I did not attempt to pronounce this guy's name. I am not going to do it again. We're just going to say with TJ, and then Jacob, Jack Sawyer. Replacing those guys up front because, and you saw it in the playoff. I mean, the way, and it's kind of like with the Super Bowl when the Eagles beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
When you have guys on the edge that can get to the quarterback, and you do not have to blitz to get after the quarterback, that just changes things for you defensively, makes you so much harder to move the ball against and to score against. Who are some guys that can fill those shoes for Ohio State?
So you mentioned the D line from last year's team. All 4 of those starting defensive linemen got drafted. It's insane. I don't think there's ever been a year that Ohio State's had 4 guys on one defense on the D line get drafted. It's wild to think about how good that unit was. They were experienced. They had wounds. They had scars. They've had to overcome obstacles. They couldn't get over the Michigan hump. Like, they were tested. And all of a sudden, when it was win or go home, all 4 of them rose to the occasion. On the D line right now, you're looking at Kenyatta Jackson Jr., Caden Curry. Those are going to be your 2 starters. On the interior, you have Caden McDonald and Edric Houston as your 2 defensive tackles. McDonald's probably your 1 tech. Edric Houston's probably your 3 tech. After those 4 guys, on the edge, Ohio State went out to the portal, got Logan George from the FCS level, who's going to be a really good, solid backup. You go and get Bo Atkinson from North Carolina. Really good, solid guy over there for the Tar Heels that I believe, honestly, if you didn't have 3 and 4 year guys right now at Ohio State about to start, Bo Atkinson could come in and start right now for Ohio State, and it may be an upgrade early on because of his experience and his length and his size and he just knows how to play the position. He sets the edge very well, which is one thing Ohio State did a whole lot better in the playoff at setting the edge with the defensive ends. I think at that unit, the 4 D ends will be fine. 2 starters, 2 backups, they'll be fine. The issue for Ohio State's defense is on the interior at D tackle, because outside of your top 2 guys, and Cade McDonald and Edric Houston, nobody really has any experience. And so I'm nervous about the defense, not only because they lost 8 of their 11 starters from last year's national championship winning team. It's because the guys that are replacing those guys don't have any experience at all. And so I am nervous. Maybe we'll talk closer to week 1, and I'll give you a prediction about that game against Texas. But right now, I'm very, 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 not going to say very nervous. Like, they'll be good. But I am nervous about the game against Texas because Texas loses a lot as well in the O-line and D-line. But they do the same thing Ohio State does. They reload. And if you have guys that are inexperienced behind your 2 starting defensive tackles, it's almost like the Pacers in the NBA Finals in Game 7. Once Tyrese Halliburton went down, Rick Carlisle should have kept in Pascal Siakam, should have kept Andrew Nembhard in. TJ McConnell should have played a whole lot more. Miles Turner, you can't come out because your star is gone. You have to keep those guys out there because your guys, that your leader isn't there, so you got to play more guys a whole lot more. Well, if your top 2 guys are it and the backups aren't that good, you may have to play your starters a whole lot more, which will wear them down. But if that's what you got to do to win, you got to do it.
Yeah, that's true. And look, I was not going to bring up the Pacers. I mean, I figured
I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you.
Okay, so who's going to be the starting quarterback for Indianapolis Colts? Is it going to be Daniel Jones or is it going to be Anthony Richardson? You brought up the Indiana sports. I know you're a Colts guy. And,
it hurts me because I don't even know his name. I forgot his name because he's so bad. Anthony Richardson is hurt again. And so
color me shocked.
Yeah, I know. I can't say what I want to say.
Jay, also, breaking news. Water is wet.
Those jokes have been going around TikTok for quite a long time. Those debates, all I can do is laugh because I'm not going to debate it with anybody. It probably will be Daniel Jones week 1 because I think Anthony Richardson might be hurt again. And if he's healthy, it's Anthony Richardson. Is he head and shoulders better than Daniel Jones? No. Are the Colts in a situation where they lose their owner, unfortunately, who passed away? His daughters are taking over in ownership. They're in a situation where you're supposed to go all in to win it for your owner that you sign your checks, but you don't have a competent quarterback to do it. Phillip, you brought up the Colts. There's not many teams that get me upset and get me annoyed. The Colts have not gotten the quarterback position correct since drafting Andrew Luck. They didn't handle Andrew Luck's injuries correct, but ever since drafting, you got that correct. 3 years in, 4 years in, okay, get better. Protect him a little bit better. Get a better offensive lineman. Get him better weapons. You didn't do that. Get better guys on defense. You didn't do it. Now you got a guy, Anthony Richardson. What did he play? Like 11 games in college, 13 games in college, didn't have that many starts. He can't read a defense. He can't throw an out route. Why is he here? Because somebody named Chris Ballard thought that's the guy that's going to take us to the promised land. No, he is not at all. He's not good. I have no problem saying that on your show. I know you brought me on here to talk about Ohio State. I was excited. Now I'm getting upset because the Colts are so bad, and they have two really bad. They drafted Riley Leonard, who can't throw either. So what are we doing here? You're embarrassing yourself by drafting a guy who can't throw. Another guy before him can't throw. And Daniel Jones, nobody wants. Come on, Indianapolis. We'll pay you some money. Oh, that team annoys me, man. You did this to me. You did it. I said Pacers. I was in a good mood. And then you brought up the Colts. And now here I am about to wake up my son because you brought up a team that has really bad quarterback play.
Right. We'll switch back to college and work some good quarterback play. So it's all about in the schedule overall. I mean, you start off with Texas, you close out at Michigan. We won't touch the Michigan stuff. We didn't had enough of that to start the conversation. But I did want to touch on a little bit the opener with Texas. This is a very intriguing matchup. Okay, I want to ask you this because I see this all the time down here. SEC fans, they hate the big noon kickoff, and it's like I try to explain to people. Sometimes that is a tough task. That listen, Fox has the Big Ten. They put their best game on at 11. When they have the return, if you go to Texas, ESPN, ABC will put that sucker in prime time, and you'll be as happy as all can be. The main ones that do this is Alabama fans. They complained when they had to go to Texas a few years ago. And then last year when they went to Wisconsin, Alabama fans were once again fussing about it because I believe last year Texas went to Michigan. I don't remember seeing a lot of Longhorn fans fussing about it. I think they were kind of used to it when they were in the Big 12. But anyways, does the 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock Eastern, do those kickoff times bother people in the Big Ten as much as they do in the SEC?
I think they bother Ohio State fans in the Big Ten. I don't really hear other fan bases complain about it as much as Ohio State fans because last year they had at least 6, maybe 7 games that were played at noon. I think their final 6 regular season games, 5 or 6 regular season games were at noon. And so part of it is the Big Ten's inability or desire to not play night games in November. It's a 3:30 or 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff, and then that's generally it. Now, with the NBC contract, you're going to play more of those games in November that are in prime time, but it has to be agreed upon by both schools. And so if one school opposes playing at nighttime in November, you can't put the game at night. So I don't like that. I think, one, by the Big Ten, that's a dumb rule. It's kind of an unwritten rule, but it's very, very stupid to me that you would do that because you're limiting exposure. You're hurting your own recruiting for the schools inside the conference. Ohio State fans can't stand it. Here's what I'm going to say about this. It's about Michigan. And I don't think a lot of Ohio State fans realize that in 2023, Michigan had more big noon games than Ohio State. Michigan also won the national championship. Michigan won the Big Ten title, and I believe it was their second Big Ten title in a row. Maybe it was their third. But in general, you're getting a team that had won a Big Ten title. They were the best team in the conference. Fox saw that, and Fox said, we're going to put you at big noon. The Texas-Michigan game from a year ago you spoke about, that was at big noon. Ohio State fans can't stand it. I can't stand it. I don't even take it from the recruiting angle at all. To me, if I am Fox, I want to put the biggest brand where I want to get the most eyeballs. The weird thing is they get the most eyeballs at 12 noon. I think they can maximize that and compete against the SEC on ABC at nighttime by putting Ohio State and Texas at night. I do think with that game, though, there's an MLB contract that overrides college football. I think MLB has a game that day, and you're not going to try to ruffle Major League Baseball to put Ohio State and Texas at night because that doesn't make any sense. Like they're contractually obligated for that time slot. So Ohio State fans can't stand it. I really don't think other Big Ten schools care as much as Ohio State fans. I think Michigan fans probably care. You really wouldn't put any of the 4 West Coast schools at Big Noon if they're home, meaning USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. If they're home, you're not going to make them kick off at 9 a.m. local. You're not going to do that. Oregon kicked off at 9 a.m. their local body time when they came to Ohio State in 2021, and they won the game. But that was in Columbus. It was local 12 noon for that school. So the Big Noon thing, I can't stand it. I understand why Fox does it. I understand why Fox presented that to the Big Ten when they were doing their TV contract negotiations. And I understand why the Big Ten said yes. I understand because NBC doesn't want 12 noon. It would run into their Notre Dame coverage.
Mm-hmm.
CBS already has a 3:30 time slot. So if NBC can have Notre Dame in the afternoon, play a primetime college football game in the evening that's from the Big Ten, you're winning. You're automatically winning. So the only thing for Fox to say in the dispute, in the negotiations, when they wanted to be at the table, say, let's put our best game at 12 noon. Present that to the Big Ten. The Big Ten said, well, look, we can now dominate 4 time slots because you got the first window, the middle window, the primetime window for us on the East Coast. But then you have that like Pac-12 after dark window with all those West Coast schools. They can dominate that window too. So for the Big Ten to do that, I understand it. I think Fox should put some loopholes in there and say, okay, look, if there is a game that deserves a primetime spotlight, let's not care about the SEC. Let's not care about the ACC or any other conference. Let's do our own thing. But I think they were afraid of the SEC playing in primetime and saying, who's going to watch? Who would you watch Alabama and Oklahoma played in Oklahoma, or would you watch Ohio State and Michigan State played in the shoe? A lot of people around the country might watch that Oklahoma-Alabama game, but it's Ohio State. And I think Ohio State and Alabama are 2 of the biggest brands. That'd be a nice heavyweight fight, but I can't stand Big Noon. I understand why they did it. Whenever they do negotiate again, I don't think the Big Ten will make this mistake.
I'll say this, as someone that, you podcast, but someone that writes about some of the games, I actually prefer the earlier kickoffs just because you get all your stuff out, because if Auburn plays at night, then, or Alabama, I guess I can't forget the other team I cover. If they play late at night, it's just going into it's nicer when it's that early game. But I have kept you almost 40 minutes. I got 2 quick things we're going to hit on. I just want to say this. I was going to talk about the Texas matchup, but are the Buckeyes ready for Arch Manning?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's Arch Manning I'm worried about. I'm more worried about Sark and the way he's going to be able to orchestrate the offense and how he's going to have that team ready to play and feed into what happened in the national semifinal, the Final Four basically of college football. I think Sark is going to do something that kind of turning back the clock to what he did against Ohio State, potentially. Not saying it's going to be the same score, but Sark was the offensive coordinator when Alabama beat Ohio State in the national championship in the 2020 COVID year. I think you may get more of that, Sark, but a little bit more creative than what you got last year in the playoff because Texas really wasn't the juggernaut offensively that they could have been. I know Quinn Ewers kind of limits them in what they could do. The Arch Manning spark they did in that game worked. I don't know if you're going to be comfortable bringing in a backup in this game to be a change of pace guy, a backup quarterback that is. I'm more worried about Sark than Arch Manning. Most quarterbacks don't come into the shoe and when they're the full-time starter for the first time and win. Most guys don't. They don't do that at all. It's possible because of the head coach. Sark is a really good head coach. I think he's kind of underrated for what he's done as a coach. But, Phillip, I'm kind of nervous about that game. I'll say that. I won't give you a score prediction. It's end of June, July. I'm not going to do that now.
I'm going to say a lot of people put Lane Kiffin as the best or one of the best play callers in college football. I think Sark's better.
I think Sark is better. I think Ryan Day's better. Here's the thing with Ryan Day. Ryan Day can be better. He's just not better consistently. I think Sark is better than Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, it's just Lane's up there. I mean, trust me. I mean, he's one of the best. I think Sarkisian is better than him just because the stuff he can dial up. What he did at Alabama, what he's done at Texas, and now what he's going to do with Arch. We were going to do a big study of college football, but we've gone 40 minutes. So here's where I'm going to lay this. So we know. I mean, you are always talking about when we do these the college football playoff, and I know I've told you when we've done this in the past how I felt about 12. I was okay with 8. I thought 12 was too much. Now 14, 16, again, to me, that's way too much. The 5+11 model. Now, I am for just seeding them 1 through 16. I wish they'd seeded them 1 through 12. You got it. I think, there was a lot of complaints with the first round last year in the 12-team playoff. I think had they seeded them differently with just 1 through 12, I think the first round would have been better because a lot of the teams that got the first round buys shouldn't have got them. They would have been playing in the first round. Some of the better teams would have been off that round. I think we would have got some more intriguing games. I'm not saying those teams would have won a championship, just better games in the first round. I'm not for 16. Look, I'll watch it. I'll enjoy it. I'll love it because it's more college football. In the moment, I will watch the games and enjoy it. But I just feel like you're devaluing the regular season, which is what always made college football different than everybody else. And now, look, yes, there will be more games that matter at the end of the year. But it's just when we're watching, Texas and Ohio State, before the 12 team, even when we were doing just 4, that game had high stakes. Like, you can lose this game, but you can't lose another one. Jay, the loser of this game could lose 2 more games and be fine. So where are you at it?
I don't like 12. I don't think going higher than 12 would be better for the sport. I think you're going away from being able to find a true national champion in college football by adding more teams in. If these conferences do what they've discussed and start having their own play-in style games during championship weekend, you're weakening everything. Let's just say, Phillip, you have SEC has a 8-game conference schedule. And let's say they start to have play-in games. You have your SEC championship game, which is 1 versus 2. And then you may have 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. Whoever wins 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5, those 2 teams will automatically get in, along with the first and second place teams in the SEC. Here's my problem with that. If you played 8 games in your conference schedule and you were the 5th and 6th seed, I'm not even for the 4 automatic bids. I'm not for that at all. But if you are already in, after 8 games, you're the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th ranked teams, that's where you should be seated at the end of the day. Still play your SEC championship game if you want to. Give that trophy out. I don't even care for championship games for your conference. I think that's a waste of your time. I understand it gets a trophy. I understand it's a money grab. I don't think it should happen, but it's not going anywhere. My problem with the playoff is that you're going to allow more teams to get in. It's kind of like the NBA. You're trying to find more ways to be creative to get more interest, but all you're doing is making weird decisions and you're losing fans. Like, there are going to be people in 20 years, maybe even 5 years, to look back and say, well, 5 years ago, I was all for college football. And then these people that want to make more money, they started changing up the playoff. And they started, well, you were the 6th best team in your conference in the regular season, but we're still going to give you a shot to make the playoff and get one of the 4 automatic qualifiers. Why? What does that mean? Why would you do that? Well, because we want to make more people. No, don't do it. The thing I loved about the BCS is that it made it so intense every single weekend. I didn't really follow college football in the 90s when they were trying to have a national championship game, but they excluded the Pac-10 and the Big Ten. I wasn't even a fan really of college football. My introduction to the sport was in the birth of the BCS, which could be why I am so diehard for what that system did for college football, for what it did for me as a fan, and why it was so important to even keep that system. I didn't hate the computers. I didn't understand the disputes people had.
I hated it in 2004. I'll admit that. I hated
that. Weren't you guys? Wasn't Auburn undefeated though?
Yeah.
I can understand. I can understand that gripe.
Sorry, I had to go there.
It's okay. It's okay. But like, for the most part, like, Were the computers perfect? No, they weren't. Do I think there are people behind the scenes tweaking things to help certain teams out? Absolutely. I would 100% do. But I do think if you go back to a BCS model or Phillip, there have been polls in college football that are well respected for decades. Why don't you just use those? If you don't want to use the AP poll, you don't want to use a coaches poll, I think the Sagarin rankings are a well respected ranking that people use all the time. Allow those to filter in and to be the deciding factor about what the field's going to be. I don't like 16. I don't like 14. I don't like 12. I liked 4 a lot. I think if you want to go past 4, I think 8 would be really, really good. But they're not going backwards. You
No,
could be
they're
looking at
not.
this thing and you could be looking at this thing in 8 to 10 years where there's 24 teams in the playoff. Would that be the best thing for the sport? Absolutely not. Would the same team still be winning the national championship? Absolutely. All they're doing is trying to make more money, and they're making themselves look really, really stupid. I've used that word a lot on this show. I don't normally try to use the word stupid or other things like that or dumb, but the conversations we have had, especially when you brought up the Colts, yeah, they're stupid. They should have drafted Anthony Richardson. That was a dumb decision. I got that out of my system. I feel better now.
I'm glad. This is also used as therapy for you in your cult fandom. Look, and the thing about it, when you still had 4, and if you just did 8, the conference championship games could still mean something. But
Yes.
I mean, Kirby Smart. Oh, I think he was like, "What are we doing here? What are we doing?" Because those games, if anything, can hurt you. If anything, like anything. And another thing, okay, so you talked about if you had like a 3 versus 6. And here's a problem I have with that. So now you're telling me a team that was the 6th best team in your conference, the SEC or the Big Ten, whichever one you want to use. All right. So they have, and this is football, one game, a lot can happen. Turnovers. You know this. They upset the 3 seed. Now, the team that was the 3rd best team in your conference, especially when we're talking about the SEC and the Big Ten, the 2 top dogs in this whole thing, they don't get to go to the playoff because even though they were really good for 8 or 9 conference games, that one Saturday they lose a shot. It's the same thing for me. You remember Major League Baseball was doing like the wild card to one game. So I'm like, and the same thing with the NBA when they're playing. You play 162 games or you play 82 games, but now your whole season comes down to that one game, just like that. And it's just, I don't know. It's weird. And if you do that, that really is an expanded playoff. You might as well just say, okay, those 12 are getting in, and then plus everybody else. I mean, it's just it's playoff. Because I look at the NBA thing. If you make the play-in tournament, you're a playoff team because you're that is the postseason. Anything that follows the regular season is the postseason. So 20 of the 30 NBA teams make the playoffs. It's just it's too much. I didn't like it when the NFL expanded. I mean, I know it's just 14. I didn't like that. To me, it has to be hard to get into the tournament to win the championship. It's just, but I think we could. Let's close on a good note. So our first comment was a Michigan fan. So we're going to go complete full circle here, Jay. Drew Crabtree, go Bucks.
Drew Crabtree. I haven't heard the name in a while, man. Yeah, go Bucks is right. Yeah, good man. Very good man. And the Buckeye season should be good. Now, people are going to listen to this and think you don't like the defense and some of the things that have happened with promotions. Guys, I cover Ohio State. I've been covering Ohio State since the year 2000, since 2020, and I have been a fan for longer than that. So, kind of like Phillip, we're doing this daily. We're entrenched in what's going on, and so I'm going to be very, very critical of the team that I cover, that I'm also a fan of. So you will get some passion out of me, like you got during this show, as well as some nerd notes, like you got in this show, because that's ingrained in me. And so I like Ohio State. I really do. Ryan Day's not a perfect coach. I have no idea if Ohio State's beating Michigan this year. I'm not going to. I have no idea. Phillip, right now, I think Texas is going to beat Ohio State week 1. I am not really afraid of James Franklin and Drew Aller and Penn State, because I think I have more faith in James Franklin to win that game than I do having faith in Drew Aller to beat Ohio State, which is weird because I think Big James Franklin is not a big game coach, but that just shows how I feel about that team. Ohio State should be good. They're going to make the playoff. They should be in contention to be in the Big Ten championship game. They should be a contender to make another playoff push, but will they win it all again? I can't say that right now. I haven't seen the quarterback play. I haven't seen these new starters play on defense. I don't know what this new version of a relaxed Ryan Day is going to be in the fall. I have no idea. Sorry, man. I talk a lot. I took us some more time. But, yeah, I'm happy to be a Buckeyes fan. I love covering the team. And I really enjoyed being here with you today.
I am. Now, the expanded playoff will do this, and I will close our conversation with this. It has done this. It gives a better shot of a postseason meeting between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Auburn Tigers. I'm just going to close out on that. And, when that happens, you can just tell, Mr. Black will be over there at Locked On that you're going to have Phillip Jordan on your show. And, Zach's a great guy.
He is a good guy.
Knows a long time. So if for some reason he catches this, thank you for all the podcast appearances in the past, Zach. But anyways, Jay, for I just continue to get everybody in trouble. Where can the people find you if you want to follow all your stuff?
Follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. That is Stevens with a PH. Locked on Buckeyes, a daily podcast every Monday through Friday, right there on the YouTube and on your favorite podcast app out there. If you are ever in Indiana, in the north central portion of the state, and you're in or around Kokomo, come and find me on a Friday night, roaming up and down the sidelines in football season. It's right around the corner. And come find me. Say hi. I'm not shy. I'll say hi to you. I don't bite either. Not the kind of person, but come say hi, and going to have a good old time covering sports right here in Howard County. And Phillip, anytime, man. Anytime. Let me know. You got my number. You got my email. Message me. Text me. If you want to call me, I don't care. Do that too, and I'll come on the show, man. You got to do this more often, man. It's been a while. Before we went live, we were trying to figure out when the last time was we were both on the show together right here, and neither one of us could think about it. Hopefully, we do this again before kickoff of the 2025 season.
Yeah, absolutely. We've almost gone an hour, but it's just flown by. I mean, I think, and the thing about it, everybody, me and Jake could probably go an hour or two, really. But we're going to leave it there. We got to hold something for the next time. And I appreciate you coming on, man. And everybody, you can follow me on social media. You see the handle up there on YouTube at PJordanSEC. And if I said anything here to bother you or you didn't like, hit me up. Again, I would love to talk to you. And Jay, again, I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
All right, everybody. You've been listening and watching Talking Sports with Phillip Jordan.